Bullet Train, out in theaters, new action comedy from director David Leitch, longtime collaborator and stunt double of Brad Pitt. Previously also directed films like Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2 and Hobbs and Shaw. This one stars Brad Pitt, Joey King, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Brian Tyree Henry, Andrew Koji, Hiroyuki Sanada, Michael Shannon and a few surprise stars in small but pretty funny cameos. The film follows Brad Pitt's character, codenamed Ladybug, who is this mercenary with terrible bad luck. Things just seem to happen to him and around him for no reason. He comes back to work after a break and takes a job where he has to get on the titular bullet train from Tokyo to Kyoto, steal a briefcase from one of the passengers and get out. But things quickly get complicated. As it turns out, there are other strange people on the train. A Japanese guy with affiliation to the Triad, a young girl who fakes innocence but clearly is plotting something big, a pair of assassins sent to escort the son of a powerful mob boss. Seemingly completely disconnected, all these characters and plot threads eventually intertwine and collapse onto each other in a chaotic mayhem of violence and bizarre situations. So David Leitch has been kind of a strange director for me because all of the films he's made have had some element or elements that I liked, but on the whole turned out rather underwhelming. And unfortunately this one is no exception. I found Bullet Train to be rather mediocre on all fronts. I think the action is not spectacular for most of the film, and then in the final act becomes absolutely cartoonish and unbelievable. The humor doesn't really work all that much. I mean, admittedly, there were moments I laughed, but they were few and far between. The dialogue feels kind of like it wants to be a Tarantino film, and the violence feels like it wants to be a John Wick film, but neither of those elements really comes close to either of those. The plot is so convoluted. I mean, clearly the intention was that it was meant to be this confusing mess, and then, have that aha moment at the end where everything is revealed, how things connect and how characters are related to each other. But for such a long time, it just feels like this chaotic, disjointed mess, and you have no idea where it's going. We jump from one character to another group to another. There's seemingly no connection between them, and it just feels like switching movies completely sometimes. Also, I thought the film was about half an hour too long. It really just kind of got boring towards the end. I think the most concise way to describe the movie and its problems comes from an internet comment I read, which puts it quite nicely. As a film that pretends to be an early Guy Ritchie movie made with Hollywood money, only it just pretends. And it's an apt comparison. There are numerous scenes which seem like they would fit in a Guy Ritchie film, focusing on banter between the characters, funny action set pieces. The inspiration is very clear, but all of that is simply not as good or not as funny as in Ritchie films. Which is a shame because there are things to like here. Brad Pitt is extremely charismatic as always. Hiroyuki Sanada is fantastic as the serious older samurai. The rest of the supporting cast are good as well. The cameos are all hilarious and pretty unexpected. And there was a moment around one of those cameos in the middle part where I thought, hang on, I think I'm getting on board. I'm liking this. And for about 5 minutes, the movie really clicked for me, and we were on the same wavelength, so to speak. But then the spell broke again, and it never sort of recaptured that feeling that, yeah, I'm really enjoying myself. So, as much as it pains me to say this, it's a mediocre film for me. There is clearly a lot of talent involved in the making of it, but most of the key elements are just kind of weak, and the whole thing doesn't exactly work as an entertaining ride that it was clearly meant to be.